I want to show you the ugliest thing I have pulled out of a house all year. And then I want to tell you something about it that will turn it beautiful. This is a rod of metal about as long as my arm. Or it was. What is left of it looks like a stick the dog buried 2 winters ago. It is pitted, chewed, wasted down to a wire in the middle, with lumps of crusted gray metal clinging to it like old wasp nest. Any sensible person would look at this and say, there is the problem. There is the part that failed. And here is the truth. This part did not fail. This part is the only reason the water heater it came out of is still alive. It was built to rot. Made on purpose, out of a metal chosen on purpose, to be eaten alive by your water, slowly, year after year, so that the steel tank around it would not be. It is called a sacrificial anode, and the name is exact. It is a lightning rod for rust. And the day it is finally used up, all that eating turns on the tank itself, quietly, from the inside, where nobody sees it, until one morning there is water on the floor and a 4-figure bill on the way. Today I will show you why a company would build a part designed to destroy itself, how to find out what shape yours is in the safe and proper way, and how to read the 3 faces of this rod: healthy, tired, and gone. Because this is one of those rare things in a house where the whole story is decided by whether anybody ever looks. Before we go further, I put together a free guide to 15 useful fixes, each costing $1 or less. It is linked below. Enter your email to get your copy. Start with what a water heater is. It is a steel barrel full of hot water day and night for years. And hot water is hungrier than cold. Everything in water that gnaws at metal, the minerals, the dissolved oxygen, the salts, all of it works faster when it is warm. So a bare steel tank full of hot water is a barrel being eaten alive from the inside. And the makers know it. They line the inside with a thin coat of glass, and that helps, but glass linings are never perfect. There are always pinholes, little bare spots, places where the steel shows through. And at every bare spot, the water starts its work. Now here is the clever old trick. And it is a trick sailors and shipwrights knew long before anybody had a water heater. For they bolted crude zinc slabs to the iron hulls of ships for the very same reason. Metals are not equal in a fight. When 2 different metals sit together in the same water, they form a kind of quiet battery. And in that battery, one metal always loses. The more eager metal, the one quicker to give itself up, corrodes first, and while it is corroding, it actually protects the other. The water takes the willing metal and leaves the stubborn one alone. So the makers hang a rod of eager metal, magnesium or aluminum, or a zinc blend, down into the middle of the tank, screwed in through the top. Against those, steel is the stubborn metal. And from the first day of service, every hungry thing in that water turns away from the steel and feeds on the rod instead. The rod is the lamb. The tank is the flock. That wasted, chewed, ugly stick I showed you is several years of corrosion that happened, all of it, every bit, on purpose, to the one part in the tank that was put there to take it. And now you see the catch that makes this whole video matter. The protection lasts exactly as long as there is eager metal left to eat. The day the rod is consumed down to its steel core wire, the battery has no willing loser anymore. The water does not stop being hungry. It simply goes back to the steel, back to every pinhole in that glass lining, and the tank starts spending the only life it has. Nothing announces it. The water stays hot. Everything works. The eating just quietly changes address. If you like understanding why things fail and learning how to fix them properly, subscribe. That is exactly what this channel is about. Now, before one wrench touches one fitting, the most important paragraph in this video, and I ask you to hear it fully. I cannot give you the exact steps for your water heater, and neither can any video, because they are not all built alike. Some rods sit under a plastic cap on top. Some are buried under foam insulation. Some are combined with the hot water outlet itself, and on those, the job is different. Gas and electric shut down differently. What I will give you is the shape of the job and the judgment to do it safely, but the letter of it comes from one place: the manual for your model. So the first task costs nothing and risks nothing. Go to the heater and find its data plate, the sticker on the side of the tank. On it is the maker's name, a model number, and a serial number. Take a photograph of it with your phone. Then look up that maker and model, and the manufacturers keep their manuals freely available, and find the pages on the anode. That manual outranks me. It outranks every video ever made, and it knows things about your exact tank that nobody else does. And one more reason it matters. On some tanks, especially newer ones under warranty, there are terms about who touches what. Read yours before you decide whether this is a job for your hands or a job you hire, because a 15-minute read can keep a warranty alive. If the manual makes the job sound bigger than you want, hiring it out is an honest choice, and a cheap one against the price of a tank. Knowing the rod exists and asking for it to be checked is already ahead of most of the country. Here is the shape of a safe inspection, the parts that are true on every tank, and your manual fills in the letter. First, and before all, the heater is put fully to rest. Nothing on this job is done to a powered, firing, hot, or pressurized heater. Nothing. On a gas model, that means the gas control to, pilot, or off by the manual's word. On an electric model, that means the breaker at the panel, off. And I mean the breaker, not just a dial on the tank. Then, the water. The cold inlet valve above the heater closes. A hot tap somewhere in the house opens to break the pressure, and the tank gets a partial drain through the valve at the bottom. A few gallons into a bucket or a hose to the floor drain, enough to bring the water level below the rod seat. And then, and this is the part impatience skips, the tank gets time. The water in there was scalding an hour ago. Let the job wait until what drains out runs warm, not hot. A rod pulled from a hot tank comes out hot, and the first gallons out of that drain can burn. Then the rod comes out. Under its cap or its insulation is a hex head, and it takes a stout socket, commonly the 1/16 size. And here is the honest warning. That fitting has been seated for years, and it will fight. It may take a breaker bar and real body weight. And now, the one rule I want said out loud before you lean on anything. If the whole tank starts to turn with your pull, or you see the water lines or the gas line above it begin to strain and twist, stop. Right there. A tank that turns is a tank ready to wrench its own plumbing loose, and that is the moment this stops being your job and becomes a plumber's. And there is no shame in that trade. A stuck rod is a $20 service call. A twisted gas fitting is an emergency. But most rods give, with a crack like a knuckle, and then unthread by hand, and up it comes, long as your arm, maybe needing a gentle bend to clear a low ceiling, and into a bucket, for it drips, and it crumbles. And now you are holding the answer to the whole question, and you read it like this. A healthy rod is boring. Thick as your thumb, about 3/4 of an inch, its surface may be dulled and lightly pitted, but solid metal, end to end. A healthy rod goes back in with a wrap of thread tape on its threads, snugged firm, and the calendar gets a note to look again in 2 or 3 years. And one odd word here. A rod that looks factory new after years in service is its own kind of warning, for it may mean the rod was never doing its work at all, and that is a question for your manual and your water. A tired rod is a rod half gone, wasted down thin in stretches, deep pits, chunks missing, patches where you can see a thin steel wire peeking through the crumbling metal like a bone through the meat. That wire is the rod's core, the skeleton the eager metal was cast around, and wherever you see it bare, the protection there is spent. The common wisdom the makers and the trade agree on runs like this. When the rod is better than half consumed, when it is thinner than about half an inch along its length, or when you can see 6 inches or more of bare core wire, its useful life is behind it. A tired rod has earned its retirement, and a new one goes in. And a gone rod barely comes out at all. A length of naked wire with a few gray scabs clinging to it, or a stub, or in the worst case, the wire has rotted through, and the bottom of the rod has dropped into the tank to rattle there. A gone rod means the tank has been standing unprotected for some unknown while, and the new rod goes in today, not next weekend. It cannot undo what the water has already eaten of the tank, but it puts the shield back up over whatever life the tank still has, and from here on, the eating falls on the new rod, as it was always meant to. The new rod itself is one of the cheapest serious parts in your whole house, a few tens of dollars at any hardware store, and there are just 3 choices to make. The metal. Magnesium is the most eager protector and the usual choice in soft water. Aluminum and the zinc blends stand up better in hard mineral water, and the zinc blend is the one the trade reaches for when the hot water has taken on that rotten egg smell. For that smell often rises from how the water, the rod, and certain harmless bacteria get along, and a change of rod metal often settles it. If your water is softened, know this too. The salt-softened water eats rods faster, so your calendar runs shorter. Your water tells you the metal, and the folks at the local hardware store know the local water. The shape. A standard rod is a stiff stick near 4 feet long, and it needs that much clear air above the heater to go in. Half the heaters in this country live under a basement ceiling that gives them no such room. For those, there is the segmented rod, the same metal made in short links joined like sausages, that folds around the low ceiling and straightens down into the tank. Same protection, built for real basements. Measure your headroom before you drive to the store. The seating. Thread tape on the threads, the rod snugged down firm with the socket, and then the closing of the job in the right order. And on an electric heater, the order is a law. The drain valve closes, the cold inlet opens, and a hot tap in the house stays open until water runs from it full and steady with no spitting air, because that is your proof the tank is completely full. Only then does the breaker come back on. An electric heating element that switches on in a part-empty tank burns itself out in seconds, dry-fired, dead, and a rod job becomes an element job. Full tank first, power last, every time. On gas, the manual's relight steps, in the manual's order. Then a day later, one look at the fitting for weeping, and the job is done for years. Now the limits? Plain. A new rod protects a sound tank. It does not heal a wounded one. If your tank is already leaking, if there is rusty water at the drain that never clears, if the fittings are scabbed with corrosion, or the floor pan shows old tide marks, the eating has already gone through the steel, and no rod reverses that. A leaking tank is a tank at the end, and the money goes to its replacement, not its rod. The rod is medicine for the living, and I make no promises with numbers, because the honest truth is that no one can. How long a tank lasts turns on your water, your rod metal, your temperature, and luck. What I can say is only this, and every maker says the same. A tank whose rod is checked and renewed is protected for more of its life than a tank whose rod is never once looked at. The rest is your water's business. This is also not a video for every water machine. Tankless heaters have no tank and no rod, and this whole subject passes them by. And any heater that frightens you at the shutoff stage, gas you are unsure of, wiring you are unsure of, is a heater that gets a professional, gladly. I want to end with the thing this rod taught me, because it is bigger than plumbing. There is a whole class of things in a well-run house that work by being used up. The rod in the tank, the filter in the furnace, the batteries in the smoke alarm, the wax ring under the toilet. None of them announce themselves. They do their work in the dark, by giving themselves up a little at a time, and the house runs sweet exactly as long as somebody remembers they are in there. Not one of them fails loudly. They just quietly finish, and then the damage moves to whatever they were protecting, and that failure is the loud one, and the expensive one. And by then, the little servant that could have prevented it is long past helping. So the skill today was never really the wrench. It was the remembering. Once every couple of years, a photograph of a data plate, an evening with a manual, an hour with a bucket and a socket, and the ugliest stick in your house goes on taking every blow your water can throw, so the tank never has to. Tell me in the comments, and be honest, for we are all friends here. Did you know that rod was in there? Have you ever once had it checked? And if you pull yours this month, come back and tell me which face it showed you, the healthy, the tired, or the gone. I read every one, and I suspect the answers will tell a story about every basement in the country. If you would care to keep another good thing alive with me next week, subscribe, and you will find the way back. Until then, remember, somewhere in your basement there is a part that has spent years being destroyed so that nothing else would be. Go make sure there is something left of it. God keep you, friend. We will talk again.